This is the first time I'm going to attempt to grow corn in the fall. Today is August 5th here in North Texas Zone 8A. And I'm going to grow corn that's called Simply Irresistible by Gurney's. This corn has 78 days to maturity. That means that if I plant it today, it will be ready to be harvested by the end of October. And our first frost arrives in the beginning of November, so it will be plenty of time to grow corn in the fall. The second reason why I picked this variety is because each stalk is supposed to have 2 ears, so we'll see. This is the in-ground bed where our spring corn was growing, so I extended it and also added some mushroom compost and cow manure, and also we have some drip lines. They're spaced at about over 1 foot apart, so I'm going to use them as my line markers. The drip emitters on these drip lines are spaced at 6 inches, and I'm going to plant the seeds at about 1 foot apart, 2 inches deep. And so I'm going to use these drip emitters as my markers. I'm going to plant seeds at every other drip emitter. That way they will be spaced 1 foot apart. Here are the seeds, and let's hope that when we harvest corn, the kernels will actually be yellow. So I'm going to plant the seeds at about 2 inches deep, starting right here at this hole. I'm going to use 2 or 3 seeds per hole to make sure at least one of the seeds comes up. And like I said, I'm going to skip 1 hole and then plant at the next one. That way the seeds will be spaced at about 1 foot apart. Today is September 4th. It's been 3 weeks since we planted the corn, and we were away on a vacation for a couple of weeks. I had no idea what was going to happen to the corn, but thankfully our drip irrigation helped it grow, and this is what it looks like today. About 2 weeks ago, I set up this netting to protect the corn from grasshoppers that are really bad this time of the year. Grasshoppers are especially aggressive towards the seedlings because they're tender and they prefer seedlings to more mature plants. So let's remove the netting and see what our corn looks like now. I have not thinned it out. I'll have to do that after I remove the netting. And you can see that I put up these sticks here, and then on top of the sticks I put these jars so the netting would not get damaged. But now we can remove them all since the corn has grown. So our corn is over 2 feet tall. It looks good, even though it does look a little bit dry, so I'll have to water it more. I also need to add more fertilizer, fish fertilizer, and more bloom into our fertilizer injector that we connect to our drip irrigation system. And with the temperatures going down slightly in about a week, because we're still in the 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the corn will be growing much better. You can see that while we're gone, some weeds have grown, so I'll have to remove those, like this one. And also we have this nutsedge that is a very aggressive kind of weed. It's so hard to get rid of it completely, but I keep pulling it wherever I see it, and it seems like it's doing the job pretty well. Like I said earlier, our corn is not thinned out, so I'll have to thin it out by removing the weaker plants. Like this one is way weaker than this one, and I'll leave the strongest plants and it will keep growing. Today is September 24th, and our corn is looking great. You can see that on this side of the in-ground bed, it's a little bit higher than the one on this side, and the reason is that this part of the bed is newer. I prepared it this year, and so the soil is not as fluffy just yet, but it will be much better next year. And you can also notice that a lot of the stalks have 2 ears per stalk, like this one and that one. In other words, as they advertise on Gurney's that a lot of stalks are going to have 2 ears per stalk. That is true. That's what we have here. As you can see, our corn has grown tassels, and they are producing pollen on all these little flowers. And it's important for the pollen to fall on the silk and fertilize every single strand of silk, and that's how every kernel gets fertilized and then it grows. To encourage fertilization, I'm going to do it manually, and for that, I'm going to remove one of the tassels. I'll remove it like that, and if I shake it, then I can see that some pollen dust is falling from it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna kind of touch gently the silks like that, and this one, and then this silk on those corn ears, In other words, I'm going to help spread all the pollen so that all the silk would be fertilized evenly, and hopefully we'll get close to 100% pollination. Today is October 7th. Gardening is not always pretty. Sometimes it has an ugly side. 3 days ago, we had a bad storm, and the wind was so strong that it pushed down some of the corn, and half of the corn fell down. And now you can see that half of them is on the ground. It's trying to get straight again. But the good thing is that the corn ears are mostly done, so we're going to harvest them all. So it's not a problem that we had a bad storm, and we're going to harvest a couple of ears. Now, I will say that they're attacked by worms, but it's okay. We'll just cut out the damaged part and eat the rest of it. So let's come over here. I think I'll harvest this ear and we'll see what it looks like. I can see that from the side it got chewed by a worm, even though the advertisement said that the husks are thick enough where worms wouldn't bother the corn. But let's open up and see what it looks like on the inside. It looks pretty good. It did get chewed at the top, so like I said, we're going to just trim this part and eat the rest of it. And where the worm got inside of the corn, it doesn't look too bad. So this corn actually looks really good. Let me see what the kernels are like. I'll just poke them with the finger, and we can see some juice coming out of it. So the kernels are not as starchy yet, so they're going to be tender and juicy. We'll boil corn or roast it, and it will be delicious for dinner. So the corn is ready to be harvested when the silks are dry. But if I wait too long, then the kernels will get too starchy and they won't be soft and tender to eat. So we'll open up this one. As we can see, it's also chewed at the top, but most of it is still intact. It looks good. So those worms, they left most of the corn ear for us to eat. It looks really good. My children and I tried some of the corn, and it turns out it's super sweet, and we decided we're not big fans of super sweet corn. So I think we'll stick with the variety that we grew in the spring, which was Bloody Butcher. You can watch that video. And most likely from now on, we'll be growing corn that's not as sweet. But I'm very encouraged that we can actually grow corn in the fall, and from now on, I'll be trying to grow corn in the fall every year. Thank you so much for watching this video. We're Mills Family Gardening. I'm Dina, and have a great day.